Today we're going to do a little bit of gopher trapping, and this is one of the scariest gopher traps I have. This is called a DK-1, and it is both impressive, scary, and very effective. Not much to it, simply a wire frame. I've gone ahead and added my chain onto here, but there's a lot of business into this thing. So I'm going to show you how to set it, and I'm going to go ahead and set it in this gopher mount here in just a moment. So let's do it. Alright, so let's go ahead and set this thing. Again, this is not humane. This is a very, very dangerous trap. This is one of the scariest ones I have. So if at any time you don't feel comfortable using this, there are plenty of traps out there that are much safer. That being said, let's go ahead and show you how this thing works. First things first, you're going to open up the jaws, and this is the jaw portion. It's going to swivel back and forth. You open it all the way up. That's also going to have this piece of spring push up against the rod portion. Okay, so all the way open. There's your jaws, much burlier, much scarier than most of your gopher traps. You're also going to have this swivel, this long rod out here in front, and that is going to articulate and go over and inside the jaws. And at the very end of this piece of rod is going to be the only thing keeping this thing open. So you want to make sure it's very secure. You're going to push down, bending down. If you can see this piece of metal, just like my other gopher traps, that's going to be the push plate. It's got some sharp metal on it, so it's a little bit more insidious. But you're simply going to slide it up the spring, and the hole that it is sliding up and down on is a little bigger than the spring itself. And you're simply going to slide the bar in between that small gap. And what that's doing is keeping that bar secure all the way up against the spring and making it where the jaws at this time cannot shut. Here at the very end of the trap, I'm going to be pushing the push plate further back on the spring and setting the sensitivity. Because if you've seen some of the other traps, you'll know that the gopher comes through, hits the plate, and the trap shuts. And this one works in the same way. Since this one has a lot more power and it's a lot more scarier, I'm not going to set sensitivity till the end. And you're seeing me work this push plate up here where at no time is this thing going to come undone and, well, get me another hospital bill pretty much. So here we go. Here's the actual setting of this trap. This portion right here is pushed up against your main rod. And what I need to do is put force and bring it all the way around and add the actual tension to the spring. And doing this can be quite scary, quite intimidating. I'm going to grab just like this. At no time am I going to put flesh in between the actual jaws where they can come through and puncture me. They might be able to shut, but they're not going to rip any skin or rip any flesh. And I need this because nowhere else in this trap can I really get the leverage to push like I need to get this thing to come all the way around and relock here. And so I'm going to grab on the backside, and I'm pushing up against my leg, come all the way around, and lock this thing. And that took quite a bit of muscle. So again, this is intimidating. There's a lot of places that things can go wrong with this trap. At this time, this trap is set. It's not very sensitive right now. Push plates over to the side, but at any time it can go off. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my thumb on top of the rod, because again, that's the only thing keeping these things from shutting. I'm going to straighten up my push plate. I'm going to work it back very carefully. Till the sensitivity is where I want it to be. And I usually like these to be fairly sensitive, but again, you need to be able to get it down in the hole without it going off. This trap is completely set, and you do not want to transport these with them set. This needs to be done at the hole. You shouldn't be doing any walking around. There should be no animals, no kids running around. I've got a banana here, and I want to kind of show you exactly what this thing's able to do. So the mole or the gopher is going to come up through the hole. He's investigating. He's going to try and plug it up or do some repair work. He pushes on the bush plate, and you couldn't quite see that, but literally this thing went so quick that it ripped through the banana. Okay, it didn't crush it, it didn't squish it. It has enough power to actually rip through the banana without a problem. And it is probably going to do that to the animal as well. And it's still set. You can't really open up the jaws because, again, all the force is there. To undo this, take your back plate and release it. That's going to allow your jaws to open up once more and get ready to be set again. So there's your DK-1. Go ahead and set this thing down in this hole in just a moment, but be careful, guys. Effective, efficient, good trap, but you got to know what you're doing. Having a hard time finding this hole. But what I'm doing is using my probe, trying to find out where the tunnel goes down. And it's not even where the dirt is this time. I've got this hole right here. With all these, you're going to have to do a little bit of modification. You want to make sure that your trap has enough room and clearance to get down in there, enough for it to have the jaws closed, and for your kick plate to actually be able to move and be set off. So, sticking my hand down in a hole, it's just part of the deal. Here's the DK-1. I've gone ahead and set it, being very careful. I'm going to have to tear out the sides just a little bit more. It's a fairly wide trap. If you're going after groundhogs or prairie dogs, your holes will be a lot bigger. This is for a mole or vole. And there you go. Trap is set. Sometimes I'll go ahead and put some stuff over it. Here's your cow patty. That'll work. It's enough to allow a little bit of air passage, a little bit of sunshine. They'll come, they'll inspect the holes, and what they're going to attempt to do is repair that hole. So, got my chain. I'll stake that down. As always, I want to be able to find the trap again, so put my flag down. But there you go. We'll check this one more time this evening and check it again in the morning, and hopefully we'll get some varmints. All right, let's check it. This is the DK-1 trap. And oh heck, look at him. All right, there you go. Another successful trap. Looks good. And that went right around his throat and suffocated him completely. Worked well. So hopefully he didn't suffer too badly. Again, this trap was one of the most vicious, or at least it had the most clamping power, so I imagine he didn't feel anything. It's one way to get rid of your rodents. Successful. There you go. Good size.